We are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome. What?
What?
Welcome to another episode of Nightmare Road. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Deacon, here with the very, very brown.
Obviously me.
Slasher. Refreshing. And today we have a very. What? I'm trying to see if I can get a commercial.
Oh.
Yeah, can you imagine me in a commercial and be like, this doesn't taste that much like shit?
I was gonna say no because you'd probably say something like that.
Yeah, well, this is what they paid me to say. Honestly, I prefer whiskey. So yeah, today's episode it's another one of those that's so weird because it's fucking sad and it's also infuriating. And I have to watch my F words, otherwise we're not gonna get monetized.
Yeah, demonetized.
Oh, you're gonna get demonetized. So what's the rule? I gotta wait 5 minutes before I can say the F word. And I'm only supposed to say it like 10 times.
Oh, let's see. I'll put a counter afterwards.
Yeah, I'll be like the beginning of what movie is that? The Jay and Silent Bob, when they're like,
Put a counter. See how many times you say it.
mother. Anyway, so today's episode is one of those where it's weird because it's infuriating. And it is we didn't know what to call it. The scandals, what?
Just gross. Everything.
The very disgusting Patterson. The show us this stud. Go ahead. Pull up David Berkowitz.
Whose shirt would you rather wear?
That one.
David Berkowitz. This one?
Yeah, he looks like a cowboy Power Ranger.
Oh, all right.
He looks, and look at his face. He looks like a gigantic elf on the shelf. Doesn't he? He looks like.
Jeez. He doesn't look like the things that he did.
No, are you saying that he looks handsome? Or are you saying he looks trustworthy?
No, he just looks like he looks like you could go up to him and he'd be like, "Hey, what's wrong?" You know?
Yeah,
but,
like he'll defend you. Like, who did it?
Yeah,
he looks like he looks like if Barbie, like if the Ken doll, they've made like, you know what? You know what's gonna be awesome? What if we take Ken? Yeah, okay, I'm listening, and we mix him with a Cabbage Patch Kid.
Oh,
he looks like Amy Schumer.
Oh, jeez. Didn't Ken wear something like that in the?
Probably. Gay.
Anyway. So that's him.
Yeah. So that's Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson was somebody that was, admired around the wrestling circles, because he's been in the business for so long. And and he was actually a catch wrestler. So it's catch wrestling, it's like chain wrestling. So
what is that?
It's not professional wrestling. It's not like I'm gonna fake stomp at you. It's I'm gonna drop below your waist, pinch your knees together, pick you up, and then turn my hips and drop you on your head. And it's actually a really effective form of self-defense. Catch wrestling, you have chain wrestling, you have shoot wrestling. So it's all these different names, but in the end, it's actual, it's actual wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
It actually has actual submission holds. It's not like the figure 4 leg lock. It's the more, I'm going to twist your shoulder a certain way. It's called a key lock. If you're a fan of the UFC, it's known as a Kimura. Key lock. You go and you pull until you hear that shoulder pop. What's funny?
Nothing. Just go ahead.
Thank you. But anyway, so this was a guy that, people would go and be like, I want to come up with a movie. Is there anything that I can use that's realistic, but teach me how to do it fake? And he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Just put your butt in my face. And, you know,
Yeah.
there was even rumors that when he was teaching people how to, he would utilize his wrestling, like he'll do things like go to shake your hand, and then even though he was old, it's getting movement with minimal, steps.
Mhm.
So they teach you how to, like, for example, when you're instepping, like to go and either hit somebody or to grab somebody, um, you never double step with the same foot. You want to go with the opposite foot that's back. That way, when you turn to the other foot, you've already gained distance, at least 3 feet at once. Boom, it's quick.
So like
This
what
puts
he would like the methods I guess he would use were just very effective.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Catch wrestling is really effective. So he would just do things like he'll go to shake somebody's hand, he'll shoot in and get below their hips, and he'd grab them around the waist, and and if you didn't know who he was or what he was about, you would be like, oh shit, the old guy got me, and then you start noticing that he wouldn't let you go. Like there's several stories where he would go in and shoot and get somebody's back, and then he would like pretend these are Patterson's hands, right? So he would grab you like around the waist, and then he just like go up, and then he start traveling down. Or like, what the hell are you doing? Get off of me, and like, I gotcha, I
To the
got him.
men.
To the men,
To
to the men.
the men.
And sometimes he would just hold you, and he would just like pinch his arms together like that to keep you tight, and then his hands would travel south down to your groin area.
Hold on. Okay.
And
So that made it sound like I was saying it like it was less creepy because it was to the men. That's not what I meant at all. I just meant it was to the men because he liked it.
yeah, because he liked it.
So it was super
So,
creepy.
and everybody that was in the know, they would laugh, and he would say it, and if he managed to grope you, he was like, I got the son of a bitch, I got him, and everybody knew exactly what that meant.
Mhm.
So there's plenty of stories out there of this type of conduct, which you know it it's one of those things where if it was just straight to adults and you're like, get the hell off me, you silly bastard, you know what the hell, it's still weird and you still feel
Mhm.
dirty. uh the danger comes in when it's somebody that has these urges and they're unchecked, and he has a position of power. That's when it becomes dangerous. That men go to prison over that shit all the time when it comes to like women. Look at Harvey Weinstein,
Mhm.
utilizing something, like you want to get in a higher position, you want this acting job, you know, this is what you're gonna do. And he did stuff like this to wrestlers, like, hey, you want that push? Hey, you want that? And people knew he was gay, but he never said it out loud. Like he wasn't like, I'm a homo. No, people knew he people knew he was gay. He would travel around with his buddy, but everybody knew who he was. Oh, me and my friend, and everybody's like, yeah, that's his boyfriend. They've been
Yeah.
together. So everybody knew. Um, but people that didn't know who he was, he would utilize his position. He'd be like, "Hey, I'll teach you the ropes." And if you're a young guy and you're brand new to wrestling, you're like, "Oh, fuck it." Who's this guy? Oh, he's the booker. He's the one that is in charge of who wrestles who and who gets the title and who all these things. And I'm like, "Oh, fuck, like this is exciting." And and then you go and he would take advantage of that. It got to the point where when newer talent came in, and this is 70s, early 80s, like newer talent would come in, they would be like, hey, don't be alone with Pat Patterson. Like you know, don't
That
he's
has
gonna
to be
ask
like
you to
the weirdest thing to hear. Like when you're first starting out,
yeah.
that like you're going in like not expecting that at all, and then someone tells you to stay away from this certain person, and you're just like, why?
As a grown man, you're like,
Mhm.
stay away from this dude. It's like, what
It's
the
weird.
fuck? It's fucking weird. And it gets even creepier because back then anybody can lie and say, yeah, how old are you? I'm 18, and he's a 15-year-old kid, and everybody knew he was 15. He's like, oh,
Mhm.
it's a 15-year-old kid. Look at Roddy Piper. He started his wrestling career when he was 15 years old. And one of the stories that he tells, um, and it's hard because as a man, this shouldn't happen. As a man, you should never, like, if some dude is telling me, like, let's say that I'm new to wrestling, I'm Decon Sizzle Nipples, like that's my wrestling name, and I have like fried eggs like on like right on my chest, a couple fried
Mm-hmm.
eggs like pasties.
Yep.
And I come in and I wave around a frying pan, and that's like, oh, here he comes, Sizzle Nipples. And
Yeah.
then and a guy that's a really high executive or vice president, I think is what he was. Like it's insane that he's like, hey, meet me at a hotel room at 11 o'clock at night. My first thought is like, yeah, all right, let's do this. I'll get some beer because it never crosses your mind this dude's gonna try to
Well,
molest you.
okay, so I don't know how many stories there are with that like same thing that happened, like meet at the in the room, but the one, well, there's one of them that we'll show later, I guess. Like they told him specifically, like go lay down, and someone's gonna come in and service you.
Hmm.
I just didn't know who it was that was trying to do that.
Yeah, and if somebody were to say, and then you say like, shut off the lights or don't turn on the lights and just
Said
like
lay down, the lights are gonna be off, and someone's gonna come in and
and service you, and your thought was like, does this bastard, does he have a ring girl? Does he have, is there a female wrestler here that's like the wrestling hoe? Like you don't know. Is Moolah here with her prostitutes? Like,
well, the crazy thing though about that is, uh-oh, is that they in the beginning, like at the
what?
very, it froze. I don't know if it was you or me, but
Oh, okay. Thought Moolah was coming after me.
oh, ew. um, so in the very beginning of the phone call, they told him like, if you want to keep your spot,
Hmm.
go to this room, like, and then
Flat
like at
out.
that point, like, what do you do? Like the new ones that start out.
Yeah, because a lot of people think like modern wrestling. Okay, now they send you to an academy. Like you go, you try out, they like your look and everything. They're like, okay, we're gonna send you to developmental. And you go and they teach you like how to move. They teach you like how to talk. They even give you classes on how to cut a promo. Like one thing I do hate, is a truck driver. Truck drivers, they violated my mother, and then they teach you how.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you hate? I hate the rain. You hate the rain? Yup. The rain murdered my father and molested my mother. Just it's just like that. Like they teach you how to do promos. So that's how it is now. You go and they'll take care of you. They want you in good shape. They put you with a nutritionist. They're able to watch your weight. Back then, it wasn't like that. Back
And a
then,
contract.
yeah, and a guaranteed contract. Like, okay, we'll pay you while you're training. Back then, it wasn't that way. Back then, it was, you know, everybody thought that you were stupid if you wanted to become a wrestler. What are you gonna do? You're gonna become a wrestler. Get the hell out of here. So you're gonna wrestle, whatever the hell, man on TV, and they mock you. Then you have to go find yourself a trainer, right?
Mm.
And a lot of these trainers were older, retired wrestlers, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" A lot of them were like gruff, like old men. Like, "What do you want, kid?" "Oh, I want to learn to wrestle." "All right, it's $3,000, and be here at 4 in the morning. Be at my whatever the hell it is." And a lot of the people didn't have the money, so what a lot of them would do is they would either take security guard jobs at night, like bouncers or whatever. What are they bouncing on? Like bouncers at night, and so just so they can have some money, or they did the easiest route ever. They sold everything. Look at the Undertaker. He sold everything and he lived in his car. That guy was 6'9" and he was driving like a tiny little vehicle.
Gigantic.
And yeah, gigantic. So yeah, they would live in their car. They would. John Cena told this story how there used to be a pizza place where if you finished the pizza, it was for free and it was gigantic. So he said that in order for him to eat, because he had no money, because he would go in there, and even though he says his stomach was screaming at him to stop, he said he would just shove that last slice down his face, and he got a free pizza. Like,
Because it
oh,
had to be free.
because it had to be free, and because he had no money, and then he would go and he could barely walk, and that's all he would eat all day. So he would, you know, pizza, and then he would go and work out and then keep doing the wrestling thing. And that's how it was. So when you got to a point where you paid everything you had, you have nothing, you don't even have a pot to piss in and all that kind of shit, and then you finally have an opportunity. to come in. You're hungry, you're tired, you know. Some guy told a story about how he basically he like would lift up the hood of his car and he would like pretend like he's looking at it, but actually he said he would start pissing because there was no bathrooms where he was at and he didn't want to get arrested. He's just urinating and he's like pretending to look at his car. Like, you bunch of idiots, I'm pissing and I'm pretending like I broke down. Um then he told the story about how officers like, need any help? And he's like, no, don't come over here. Like, you know, I think I have a radiator leak. So anyway, so here's somebody that tells you like, hey, you struggled, you did all this, you did all that. Now, if you actually want to get hired on, this is a quote from somebody. They told him, Patterson told him, there's there's the easy way or there's the hard way. The other one was I forget what the exactly what his words were, but there's the narrow way and then there's the nearly impossible way, or there's the easy way. And he's like, what's that? And he's like, meet me in my hotel room and we'll talk about it. You know, and then when you're broke and this is an opportunity and he's promising you're going to make a lot of money, like, what do? You know, you spend 3 to 4 years in your car, you know, pretending to look at your car and you're pissing outside, shoving pizzas that you can't stomach just so you can eat for the day. And then somebody's like, look, you want to go back to that?
See, and I'm sure that everybody would like to think that they would walk away in that situation, because I would like to think that I'd be like, no,
You
I'm
wouldn't be
not
looking
gonna
at your
do
car
that, you
pissing?
know? Sure. But like at that point, I guess like for some people, desperation just kind of kicks in and they're like,
Yeah.
well, gotta do it, you know?
Same thing with the singing, like singing careers, right? You talk to
Mhm.
you know, you've heard about a lot of abuse when it comes to like music producers and all that kind of shit. Same thing.
Acting happens it's so gross. It
Yeah,
happens
it had
everywhere in
fuck Quentin
entertainment.
Tarantino. He was talking about how he knew a movie producer who just had a mattress in his office. You know, like,
Ew. Yeah.
and he talked about it. Like, he actually talked about on a Joe Rogan show how he said that how creepy Hollywood was, and he's also a creep. He admitted to being a creep. So he said that he would go in there. He's like, why the fuck is there a mattress? And he says, oh, that's how I auditioned the girls for the role. You know, so and he's like, really? And he goes, yeah. And he's like, okay, and that was normal. Quentin Tarantino being a creep, he said, there's a movie called From Dusk Till Dawn where
Mhm.
Selma Hayek dances and she puts her foot in his mouth and she pours tequila down his leg. And people were like, so why was that scene so important? He said, because I have a foot fetish. And this is the only way for her to shove her foot in my mouth because I saw them and I wanted them. I was like, why would you say that?
So gross.
Anyway, all right, back to Pat Patterson.
Hold on, wait though. I wonder what it is about the entertainment industry though that has so many creepy people doing this. Do you think it's just because it's so competitive?
I,
Like if it's not you, like if you don't do it and I don't like hire you, it's gonna be somebody else.
yeah, and I think that's what it is. It's just it's the scarcity of it, you know, like, and somebody has power,
Hmm.
and you can't just go down the street and be a movie star. Like, all right, I'm gonna be a movie star. You know, you got to be selected, and
Hmm.
somebody tells you, like, look, man, like, if you're not gonna get this role unless I say so. I have
Yeah.
like 30 other people out there auditioning for this role. What are you
Mhm.
gonna do? You know, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
sucks.
you're like, I don't want to eat that pizza tomorrow. You know, it's like, somebody else said they would go to the bars and eat all the fruit because you know how some bars would like leave
Ew.
fruit, and they said they would just eat all the fruit and leave.
So
You know,
gross.
so they would go into the bar and just
So
hang out and talk and like eat the fruit. And then as soon as the fruit and the peanuts that they ate them all, they would just leave and go to another bar just because that's how they had dinner. You know, and it's like,
jeez.
damn.
There's a
So
girl dinner.
yeah, jeez. But I mean, but that's what I'm talking about. It's like the lifestyle. Now imagine if that's what you're doing just to chase a dream. And at some point you get so far into chasing your dream that you're like, fuck, now what? Now I'm too deep in here. What am I gonna do? Get a shovel and try to dig my way out of this hole? You can't, you
Yeah.
know?
See, like,
So
because if you're doing that for so long, kind of like I'm already in it, might as well just do this one last thing.
might as well go lay down and
Ugh,
and just
God,
wait. Um
jeez.
so okay, so this is creepy enough, right? Like doing it to adults. The
Hmm.
issue comes in where I guess he had a couple of drinks, too many to actually, and starts saying things that I don't think he would have ever confessed if he was sober, but he talked about how his preferences for boys, he says, was between the ages of 13 and 19. And so this person was like, fuck, like that's a wide range. And then he says he begins to realize that he was hiring 13-year-old boys, like young boys, to go and become ring boys, like people that set up the ring, make sure that the ropes are tight, make sure everything's clean, and he would go to places.
How old was he at this point, do you think?
Patterson?
Yeah.
Probably 50, 60. Yeah, old dude. And it was him and two other guys. One of them was a referee, which was an actual, registered sex offender, and the other guy, I don't remember his damn name, but he basically would go places and put out ads, like, do you have a dream to be in the wrestling business? This is a great program for kids, like for boys. They had to specifically be boys. For boys between the ages of 10 and up, and then that was his preference. And what's shitty was that when something goes on long enough, and people been in it long enough, they start naming. Maybe I don't know why. I wonder if it minimizes the situation. I wonder if but I guess that's the ring boys, like the older boys that have been there long enough, started calling them. Fucking gross. Started calling them the cream team. And these were the older boys. Like they were like 17 and they've been there for a while, and they're like, we're the cream team. And then when other wrestlers like, what the fuck is the cream team? And it's like, those are those boys that Patterson brought in.
It was another guy. What was his name? Mel Phillips or something like that.
I don't remember. Phillips. That sounds familiar.
And then there was another one. There was a third one.
Yeah, that was the ref, I believe.
I'm gonna Google it. Okay, keep going.
Google it. Anyway, so these guys had their Patterson made sure that everybody was paid. The ref was out there recruiting, and the other guy was just kind of like overseeing, make sure everybody was happy, and and again, it's hard to, man. So
Terry Garvin.
Garvin, that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It's hard to say like, well, is there video evidence? Is there this? But to me, if enough people have witnesses, enough people had attempted to say something, enough people tell these stories, there's validity in it, right? One person making some shit up is one thing, but fuck, when you have like over 30 and
we have like a group of them, but then like some of them take it back and you have to think why? Like, is it because it wasn't true, or because again they want to keep, their spot?
Yeah, and a lot of those, okay, so in wrestling, they have people that get legend contracts, which they get paid just to show. They don't even have to wrestle. They show up for an event, they wave at the crowd, or they're like a special referee, or they're like a special announcer, or all these things, and they get paid a lot of money, right? And this is the job that everybody wants, because you're only showing up. You have front row seats to something, but if you say something outlandish like this, they're like, you know what, you're done. You're never gonna work in wrestling, because you gotta think, Vince McMahon, like, he put everybody out of business. He bought everything. So he is wrestling, when you think about wrestling, unless you're like in the independent circuit, you make no money, but he's the guy.
It's so much money.
It's a lot of money.
It's
like,
so much money.
What if they say that they make more money in wrestling than they do per pay-per-view, I guess? I don't know about recently, more money than the NFL.
Yeah, it was like in 90 something, 92, 94, they made like, I don't know, 2.7 billion, I think it was.
Billion. And that's in the 90s.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Imagine how much that would be now.
Yeah. Get you in the Epstein list. No, it's just one of those things where you look at it and you say, okay, I said these outlandish things, but they told me if I walk them back, they'll have a spot for me. Because a lot of these wrestlers, a lot of them don't end up in good places. Like a lot of them, their bodies are shut down. They've had enough concussions to the point where they're incoherent, and the money that they make is go into events, and they have and it's really sad. You go to certain events, and there was a guy who was I don't know if you can Google and pull it up, or is that you just had to prepare. There was a guy whose name was Virgil, and he was the $1 million Ted DiBiase's manservant. He was this black guy that he was like Ted DiBiase's manservant. He brought his stuff. He like, you know, so there's and he was lame. Like he sucked. Um, and he wore like cut off sleeves, and he had the bow tie, and he would always like pose and try to look intimidating because he was like his manservant slash bodyguard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he died. I
The
think
black guy?
yeah, black guy. I think of cancer.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so he would go down to these like meet and greets, and he was sitting there in a table by himself, and no one was talking to him. And he had like posters of himself when he was young. Yeah, there he is. Virgil. He had this really cool thing where he would punch and he would dance and he'd punch you again. He'd take a step and he'd punch you. Yeah. Then he'd do it over and over, and you're like, all right, motherfucker. Anyway, um, so there was a picture of him like sitting there in an event, and no one was talking to him. No one wanted an autograph. He was selling pictures of himself, and he's just sitting there like down the table, just by himself.
Selling pictures of himself?
Yeah, autographed. So what they do is they go to these places where you get to meet the stars, shake their hand, and hey, you want a picture? $2. You want an autographed picture? $5. And the people that make a lot of money are people like Sting or John Cena or all these people, the big stars.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan. But then you have the people that were lower in the totem pole, that they were just like wrestlers they were cool at some point, but then people forgot about them, and now they're old. And now, yep, right there. Look at that. Virgil, wrestling superstar, and no one's in line.
He's alone.
He's by himself. Look at that. He's got little pictures there that he's selling. Fuck. All right,
but where is he? Like everything is like even the background, everything's empty.
Yeah, it's an arena. So like if you look up other wrestlers, like for example, if you look up a $1 Million Man or Ric Flair, you see there's a line. There's you could sit next to him for 20 minutes and just converse with him if you pay. That's why there's extra chairs. So and he's by himself. No one wants to be with him. So anyway, that's how a lot of these people end up. So when somebody calls you up, you're like, hey, do you want to train a younger guy? Do you want to make a special appearance? And you're like, well, it's either this or being by myself in a fucking table, not making any money, depressed, and they're like, what do I have to do? You have to walk back. You remember those things that you said about Patterson? Like, yeah, tell people that you're lying. Okay, done. Like, oh yeah, I was really drunk. And I'm the one that wanted to molest Pat. Okay, walk it back, dude. Like, don't think it's too far. You just think. So yeah. So when you get interviews, I mean, shit, it wasn't like 2 or 3. It was a lot of people that were witnesses. There was people that, allegedly, we have to say allegedly so you don't get sued.
Yeah.
But allegedly, somebody saw Patterson. He heard it from someone else. Patterson was giving this individual special mouth things in a vehicle, and he apparently alerted security of what was going on, and they told him to mind his business.
Do you think it was that he heard it from someone else, or do you think he said that he heard it from someone else? It's like if you were in this situation, would you want to say that it was you that saw it, or you'd be like, oh, some guy saw it?
Yeah, some guy saw it. He told me. What was his name? Tony what? Tony Baloney?
Like, yeah, I wouldn't want to say that it was me.
Yeah, because then your career's on the line.
Yeah.
And then there's people out there that didn't care. Like, they would just flat out say it. So, like, there was a guy named Bruno Sammartino, and he went on some show and he talked about it. And he appeared on a talk show in the 90s where Vince McMahon tried to intimidate him, like, are you sure this is what you saw? And he was like, yeah, I saw this. Like, I saw this myself. Like, and I went on this show, and he sounds like he's related to you. I went on this show, and I saw these, and I saw these, and I told these people. He didn't care. And you know what happened?
What?
He no longer got contracts. He was basically, he was going to go and train younger people. He was going to be like hired on as an academy and kind of like teach the younger guys how to cut promos, how to do wrestling, and guess what? All that was gone. Like, you're out of here. We don't want you anymore. I forget what he did after that. I think he sold cars.
That can make good money.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Probably wrestle. That's it. Opinion 1, 2, 3. You buy this car. And then there was people that were big enough where they didn't care for a while because they were pretty big name. Like for example, superstar Billy Graham. He was really popular, and if you guys love Hulk Hogan, and let me tell you something, brother, he actually got it from him. So he has a story where
You have Hulk Hogan there with you.
yeah, Hulkster, what's up, brother? You wanna come on the camera and just kind of like, oh, don't not that way, no kid, just get out of here. Thinking I was Pat Patterson. Anyway, Pat Patterson's dead. So he said that his name is Terry. A young Terry went over and was like, "Hey, man, how can I become popular?" And he's like, "Well, my gimmick, brother, is, I'm this guy that everybody can relate to. You can look up to. Look how flashy I am. Look at these pythons, And he's like flexing, and he's like doing all these things. He says that he literally saw him a week later, dressed like him and talking like him, and he's like, "This guy just stole my whole style." Let me tell you something, dude. So anyway, so this is a guy that was very well known, and if you look at superstar Billy Graham back in his heyday when he was a young dude, he was big. He was a big dude. So he was set. He was seen as somebody that was set. So he went on a talk show and just spilled the beans, and him and somebody else saw Pat Patterson and this was his move apparently. A lot of people witnessed this, and you hear this speak in the locker room, but he would go and put one arm around the boy and talk to him on like wrestling and how they can make it big in wrestling, and like, if you want to be like the Ric Flairs, and then he would start to put his hand down their pants, as he's talking to them, and like, like keep it. So Billy Graham,
kids that are 13, 14 years old.
These are the kids that are 13, 14 years old. So he basically saw this. Him and his friend saw this. He didn't name his friend. His friend did not want to be named. He was afraid because he was still with the company, And he says they saw this and they went to go report it. And they basically told him, like, no, just leave it alone. Mind your own business.
I read one, I don't even know what it was, but somebody was saying like, no, like he's not that type of person. Like he wouldn't do that. There's no way that you saw that. But like, then you hear all of these same people talking about the things that he would do and say to these adult men, and they laugh it off. It's like, why would you think that he wouldn't do that to a kid?
Yeah, he had the balls to do it to a kid. Mm-hmm. And people would drink and they would talk. Shawn Michaels he used to have a really bad alcohol issue and pill problem back in the 80s and early 90s. So
I feel like a lot of them had
issues, substance abuse issues.
Yeah.
Because you got to also think, and this is another thing, is these guys work 365 days a year, traveling, bring your own vehicle. If you weren't the top of the top, guess what? You're bringing your own car. You're going to an event. You're making $500, and there's another event in a couple days, and it's 3 states away, and you pay for your own gas. You pay for your own food. Pay for your own room. You don't have a room, or you're sleeping in a car, and you're gonna get there, and you're doing this every single day, just driving, putting miles on your car. A lot of them develop hip issues because they're sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people say, well, wrestling is fake and blah, blah, blah. It is scripted, but the injuries that they take are actually not scripted. So if you look at a ring, it's not a mattress. It's actually plywood on top of a couple of small springs.
It's so loud.
And it's loud, that stuff. So these guys are taking these injuries. So a lot of them can't, if you're a mid-carder or bottom of the barrel, if you have an injury, guess what? They're not going to say, take time off, we'll make something up. No, you can't make the event, you're not getting paid. Yep. And eventually we'll replace you. So what do these guys do? They take alcohol, they take pills, they start abusing, they get addicted to stuff just to numb the pain. Jake the Snake said that they used to take steroids to stay healthy. Because to nurse injuries.
They would wrestle hurt. Yeah. It would just get worse.
So the Undertaker used to have this walk where he would kind of like sway from side to side as he's going in, and a lot of people thought that was part of the mystique. And he was on the Joe Rogan show, and he says, "No, I had a hip issue." He
I
says,
was
"I
gonna say
didn't."
it was just
Yeah,
in pain.
he was just in pain. He had a hip issue. He says he hurt his hip early in his career, couldn't afford to take time off, so he would just wrestle injured. Um. So anyway, so again, you're doing all these things. You're short on money, and then somebody comes in and tells you, "Look, man." Because if you were a Hulk Hogan, if you were a Macho Man, if you were all these people, you get a bus, you get a camper. They'll fly you out if you make a lot of money for them. Like if you're Vince McMahon, you're not driving there. Get out of here. We'll fly you there. We'll hire a driver. We're doing all these things for you. That way you can sleep, you can rest, you can eat, everything, every expense covered. You're no
Yeah.
longer stressed. And if somebody comes along and tells you, look, you want to be one of these guys? Aren't you tired of driving that little car and eating that fucking pizza, you know, and at that circus, eating that pizza through your ass so that, you know, so that people pay you and tip you as a freak show, you know, aren't you tired of that? Wouldn't you rather traveling luxury? We have wine, we have women, we have midgets, we have everything you want, on this thing.
Mm, okay.
All you have to do, listen to me. All you have to do is lay down, turn off the lights, and wait for me. And
See, like I don't know. I don't know how they did it to like the ones that went through because there was a lot of them that did go through with it.
yep.
Like, how do you just feel okay
Well,
after that?
you don't. And a lot of the stuff was that if he had you, he would humiliate you, and he would let everybody know as an example, but also like to let people know. So there's a
Yeah.
story where this guy, wants a push. A lot of people have speculations of who it was because there's also stories where, damn, I kind of got sidetracked with the stories when you get drunk enough. So supposedly, Shawn Michaels got really pilled up one day and got really drunk and started telling the boys, you know, Patterson calls my room all night long and he wants me to go in there. Sometimes I just say fuck it. Just like what you just get. So apparently there's a story where this wrestler goes
But,
in, Pat
but was
Patterson.
he already like an established wrestler?
So when he arrived, he used to be him and what the hell, Marty Jannetty, which Marty Jannetty, he's very memorable for being really unmemorable. He was like the loser of the group. So they were both a tag team. He was the more popular one, but he wasn't yet like fully over. Eventually, when he got his push, where he was a superstar, they're like, just dump your partner. You can do it all by yourself. And that's when he became like a main guy. Is when he started getting like pushed, and he's like, you're gonna fight for the title, you're gonna do all these things, you're gonna do all, you know. But before he was just a tag team. He looked stupid. Look up the Rock and Rollers. Look how stupid these guys
The
looked.
Rock and Rollers?
Yeah, Rock and Rollers. Um, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. Look at these couple of idiots.
Wait,
So
is it a blonde and a brunette?
yeah, the lame looking one, that's Marty Jannetty. The
I don't know if it's these people. See the name.
and
Okay, keep going. I'm gonna.
so anyway, this younger guy comes in, he wants a push. Everybody's like, damn, is he? And wrestlers were like, is he going through with it? Is he going through with it? And then he's over there, and Pat Patterson tells him, go ask for a room for both of us. And then he's like, yeah, I'll like a room, one or two beds. And then he turns around, and in front of everybody, Pat Patterson goes, one bed. So then the guy says that and this is what everybody says, that he just hung his head and he's like, just one bed, you know. And then Patterson was kind of like looking, everybody smiling all big, and everybody's like, damn, he got him.
Like, first of all, it's weird, right? Like, you probably feel so weird, but then also it's just embarrassing because like
Yeah.
everybody knows.
Everybody knows you're banging this old dude.
These people.
Yeah, look how young they were. Fucking idiots. Um, so it is, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's humiliating, right?
Mhm.
You just, this person not only is he pushing you to the top literally, but he's also taking your dignity and he's letting everybody know. And then imagine that reminder, everybody knows, everybody whispers. You see what that guy did? You know how he got to where he's at. You know what he did to Pat Patterson, and then you're forever whispered about in the
Yeah.
locker rooms.
But like there's some of them that talk about okay, so the one that they called his hotel room, he didn't show up into, like the other hotel room where they said lay down and somebody's going to service you. They sent him home the next day,
Yep,
and
that's it.
the months later somebody said that he was talking to him and he's like, oh, like I should have just gone in there, like I should have just laid down.
Yep,
Like how do you think that?
because they, and you also have to think, because okay, go in there, somebody's gonna service you. Just lay down and dim the light, you know, and you're like, I no, I'll pass. And then next day you get a phone call. They're like, get your shit and get out. You're like, what? Get your shit and get out.
Crazy.
So yeah, and then you go and you get your stuff and you leave, and then you find yourself wrestling for small time organizations being held in a gymnasium, in a ring, which some people say that the plywood was cracked. There was nails in it sometimes, so you get hit and you hit a hard spot. The ropes are not properly maintained, so the ropes have to be like inspected. You have to have some sort of springiness
Mhm.
to them, and the ones that are not, when you go and you lean back on the ropes, the rope will either give you a rope burn or it would pinch you, like it would like hit. They were just like shitty ropes because they have a protector on it, like right,
Mhm.
something to protect you from rope burn, but some of them were torn. So and the rope is braided. When you put pressure, like it expands and then it pinches you in the back, and you're like, fuck.
Do you
And then
think this was like a budget thing, or do you think it was like
it's
done on purpose so that they would try to go back?
I guess I never thought about that, like whether it was done on purpose, because at the end of the night, they say you're fucking beat up, you take these bumps, you hurt your hip on this fucking board, and then they're like, here's your $20 paycheck.
And then at that point, you're already thinking like, I wish I would have just done it.
I wish I would have just done it, because then you see the people that did it, and they give you. And somebody said they'll hand you your $20 paycheck, and then they'll let you know that they don't have enough funds to cover it, so you just wrestled for free.
Yeah.
And if you have a bank account and you try to cash it, guess what? Now you're stuck with the fine. And it's just like fuck. And then that's how you go back and you're like, I should have gone over there and wrestled Pat Patterson. Um, do you have clips of like some of the wrestler stories?
Yes. They talk about other people, not well, some of them talk about themselves. It's like 6 minutes, I think. So if you want to just like play the whole thing, like we can stop
We
in
could
between or whatever.
we could jump around.
Okay, so let me start it now.
And the giant in the back, Coco was in the front seat, and I'm driving. Terry's bisexual. All of a sudden, the boss says, Coco. He says, yeah, boss. He said, come here, I want to tell you something. So Coco bends over like this. Yeah, boss. Andre snatches him in a front face lock. Coco is saying, loosen up, loosen up. Well, he turns his ass backwards, and there's Terry Garvin with his pants down. Terry's cutting a promo on Coco saying, oh man, I love that dark meat, and boy, I'm just going to get some tonight. And the boss is going, ah, ha, ha, ha. He's just laughing. Oh. Terry's got an erection, and he's slapping the back of Coco's, he's got his, I hear his pants go, and Coco's screaming now for bloody murder. And I hit the brakes and I to pull over, and I hear Coco go, ah, hey, hey. And I don't know what happened. No idea what happened. And all of a sudden I get the car over, and Coco jumps out of the car and he starts running.
I've often talked.
So Coco Beware was a what?
How is he laughing about that?
Well, because I think that it helps you deal with the. So okay,
I was gonna say, is it like a trauma response?
Yeah, so I know people that have been in combat, and their only response that they have is to laugh at a situation. Like, fucking almost blew my head off, like there I was in a hotel room, with a gun in my mouth.
I guess
And
that's kind of like what we were doing last week with the whole
twerking.
predator situation.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes I guess you kind of just have to laugh or else you'll cry. But I don't know how you just laugh that off because he's talking about somebody else.
Well, yeah, and I think that
Mhm.
okay, for those of you that don't know, Andre the Giant was 7'4", and he was 500 pounds, 520 pounds, gigantic guy. His hands were the size of a frying pan, and they're talking about this guy grabbing you and restraining you, and we're talking about an individual who there's a great Andre story, how he was sitting at this bar and he was gigantic. Sitting at this bar and he's drinking. These couple of college guys throw a beer can at him and they hit him in the back of the head, and they're like, Andre turns around and is like, brr, And by the way, Andre used to drink, I think they said 40 beers to feel a little buzz.
I was gonna say, can you imagine how small the bottle looks?
Okay, pull up a picture of Andre the Giant holding a regular beer can in his hand. And while I keep talking. So some people say it took him like half a barrel of beer to a full barrel of beer for him to get intoxicated. So anyway, this guy crushes up another can and I guess hits him in the back of the head. Finally, Andre stands up and he's gigantic, so he's like wrestling to get out of this booth. These guys get in their car, and Andre was surprisingly fast. As big as he was fast. So he says he catches up to the car and he picks it up like from the bottom, and he just rolls it over. Picks up this vehicle, rolls it over, and cops show up. The cops see the commotion. The car's just been rolled over, and they pull up.
That's crazy.
And then they ask, like, what happened here? And Andre's like, those guys mess with me. And they're like, all right. And then they arrested these guys. So for like just messing with Andre.
Oh no.
So look at that. Isn't that insane? Look at the size. Yeah.
Look at the fingers. Like one finger is the size of two on the other. That's ridiculous.
Look at the size of his thumb is the size of my wrist.
Where did he get that watch?
What? Oh, custom made.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they had to use all the metal in the world.
Well, no, they just you remember the Colossus of Rhodes, how it was toppled, during an earthquake, and they're still hauling metal from it for this day. It all went to that watch.
All of it.
It all went.
They're still putting it on there.
Yeah, they're still building that watch around his corpse. Anyway, so anyway, now imagine those hands holding you down. And Coco Beware was this wrestler. He had a pair on his shoulder named Frankie, and they would do the bird, as he came in, and he was like, this guy wore yoga pants. Yeah, it was great. Now this guy's telling a story about how Andre restrained him while somebody else violated him. And screaming. And then probably he was there, this guy telling the story, and he was probably laughing because in the back of his head, he's like, that could have been me.
Well, see, he said that he stopped the car.
Yeah.
So he pulled over, I guess, to like, what did he say? Like to see what was happening or whatever?
Yeah.
Because he was like screaming in the back. So obviously in the back of his head, he knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
But like now he's laughing about it because like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. What do you do? That could have been Andre saying like, now the driver, and grabs him, So-and-so just ran off. So fuck. Continue playing these damn stories.
Story Jim Powers. A good-looking guy, great build, very athletic.
By the way, this video is there's the Hannibal TV.
Yeah, Hannibal TV. Go ahead, check them out.
To the video. Because it is, I did edit out just like in betweens, just so anyone wants to watch.
Yeah,
watch the full video. We'll leave the link in the description so you guys can go watch.
We're traveling together and working out together, and we were supposed to we had a TV taping, and then the next morning we're going to get up early and go to the gym. I came downstairs waiting for him and didn't show up for breakfast. I went and called his room, and they said,
you what, sorry?
I said, he looks like a pug that somebody dressed up for Halloween. Like, what's that guy's name? Guy Fieri?
Yeah. I don't like pugs. I don't like them.
Let him tell the story. Don't tell me you don't
he's
like
checked
him.
out.
Like, what do you mean he's checked out? I thought about like another room or something because we're in the middle of a tour. It was several months later he finally, and we never saw him again on the road. And a couple months later we connected up and talked, and he told me, and at the time I had no way to corroborate the story other than what he was telling me. I didn't know him to be a bullshitter. And he got a phone call, he said, around midnight. I can remember it was the 11th floor. He said that he got a phone call around midnight with a voice whispering, said that if you like your spot and you value it, want to keep it, go up to the 11th floor, room 11 whatever.
Jeez.
That the door would be open and the lights turned out. Said go and lay on the bed, someone will come in and service you. Well, he figured it was a rib and just hung the phone up and went to bed. Early the next morning gets a phone call and was sent home.
So when somebody says something like that to you, and of course you think they're joking, like okay, very funny, or maybe you think like looks like somebody got some. You never imagined it was gonna be.
No, like you're at a work thing, and somebody calls you and says that, you're not gonna think that's serious.
Yeah.
Crazy. Going?
Yeah, go ahead.
And that was the last time he worked for them.
And just because you mentioned Jim Powers, there's always been the rumor about Pat Patterson.
Okay. Marty Jannetty is the guy that I was talking shit on like not too long ago. He was working with Shawn Michaels. And this is the guy that it's funny. So there's a promo out there where the Ultimate Warrior is, like cutting a promo. The Cosmos are coming, and we're all together. And then it was the Ultimate Warrior, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, Anvil Neidhart. I think that's it. And the Ultimate Warrior, of course. And they're all together because they're going to form a tag team because they're going to go beat the bad guys. In the back, you see Marty Jannetty, and he's peeking his head over, and he's trying to get his face in the shot. And everybody's like doing their thing, and he's over there, and he's like slapping their shot, and he's trying to get in, and then he tries to go under so you could see his face, and everybody's just – that was his career. His career was that. After he split with Shawn Michaels became the very popular, very rich, Shawn Michaels on the Heartbreak Kid, and he used to be his old tag team partner. He faded out. Just no one knew what happened. There's a story. I don't know if this is true. I hope it is, but he was supposed to do like so that you have the main event, right? You have the main event, and then after somebody comes in, and they may have one more match just as people are kind of like getting ready to leave or to get everything ready. And he had a match, right? And they ended up the main event is over. Marty Jannetty was supposed to wrestle somebody else. That person I guess didn't show up or whatever the hell it was. So Marty Jannetty is making his way to the rings, and then he just kind of like shut the lights on him. He's like standing there like, what the hell? Nobody bothered to tell me. And people are like, I forgot you were here. Just
Imagine how embarrassing.
Well, that's Marty Jannetty. Let's see what this son of a bitch. I forgot that he was even on this.
Jim Powers, did you ever hear anything about that?
Yeah, because Jimmy told me, me and Jimmy are real good friends. But what Jimmy was telling me one time, he was like, Marty, damn it. He goes, Pat Patterson, he offered me. He said, all I got to do, and I love you, Pat. Sorry to tell the story. It's true. We've already talked about it.
Shut up.
You're
not coming back.
But I do love Pat. But I guess he wanted Jim to come to a hotel room and just oh, you know how to say it, right?
Hang out. Yeah, hang out. Well, yeah, apparently he asked Sid to go watch lightning on the balcony at his hotel room once. That's what Sid did in a play.
But I guess Pat was going to honk on Bobo. That's all. Jimmy didn't even have to be a pitcher or a catcher. He just get. You don't have to edit this out. Just get. but so Jimmy, he didn't go for it, and then he worked his out. He was great working out and shit. And he worked hard, and he was a good worker. And he was telling me one time, he goes, we were making a trip. He goes, and he was just kidding, but it was still funny. He goes, God damn, Marty, you know what, man? If I had that decision to make again, all I had to do was lay there.
How much do you wanna bet that story's about himself? Like he just like I was saying, man, that's his he's over there and he's like
embarrassed.
He's just embarrassed and he's like, yeah, instead Shawn Michaels did it and not me. I should have gone back. I would have. I know how to please a man. It's like, you mean your friend? Oh, my friend knows how to please a man.
It's just so gross to be like laughing about something like that. Like laughing about that situation and then being like, oh, I love you, Pat. Like the man that you just said I love you to offered to do something to another man and then sent him home because he didn't.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Marty Jannetty was that he's probably still hoping, that maybe they'll call him. They just did a Dark Side of the Ring about Marty Jannetty, and that was the least watched episode, they say. And it was because no one cares. It's like it's Marty Jannetty. You're like, who gives a shit?
I'm gonna Photoshop him into this other picture.
Yeah,
just
where
the guy sitting down on the table by himself.
Yeah.
Let me see. I don't remember what this dude says.
There was so many rumors, bad and different boys. You can't even really go to the end of that story because you don't know what happened, If they're
the what?
Like I said, look at that thick, Newfie Canadian accent.
Yours was one of the ones that was always in the mix. There was a rumor, right?
Yeah, he was trying to get a push from the back, I guess.
If Jim Powell.
This motherfucker, just incredible.
Powers getting a push must be because look at him, he's got a good body. Pat's probably. I mean, I heard the stories too. Steve Lombardi, I heard the stories too. I know as much as anybody else, but I don't know.
You know what's crazy? This guy was really popular in ECW, which is another wrestling organization. He came into WWF and then slowly faded out. And he was really popular. Like, people really liked him.
Why is that crazy?
Because what's crazy is that he's over there saying, like, yeah, I heard the stories and blah, blah, blah. Like, what happened to you? Like, how come you were popular and getting pushed? All of a sudden it stopped and you just faded into obscurity.
Maybe because he said no.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, because I always wondered that. It's like, what happened to him? Like, well, this is what maybe happened to him.
Well,
that's incredible.
That's why he's so sad in this video.
Who knows?
Yeah,
but it was kind of an uncomfortable time. That kind of stuff being talked about. I never saw it with my own eyes, but the guys would say what they saw. I asked Pat one time. I said, Pat, me and Doug, we were laughing. We were all of them laughing. They were all drinking one time at Legend's house. I said, Doug and I always wondered, all the years you've known me and him, how come you never took a shot at me and Jimmy? He said, are you kidding? You two aren't my type.
I had heard the story.
So, Hillbilly Jim. This guy, he sounds like everybody that lives around here. He looks like him, too. This son of a bitch. This guy's humongous. Well, he's dead now, but this guy was gigantic. Sid Vicious.
Is he like one of those, like the tall, you mean?
Yeah, I think he was like,
in general?
I think he was like 6'9". He was huge, giant dude. And his whole thing was that he was crazy. They called him Psycho Sid.
I don't remember what this one says.
Where, supposedly Pat would call Sean's room all night long or knock on his door trying to get him to concede or whatever. So my very first trip in the WWF was I was brought to the building by myself. I was dropped off there, and all I was there was just to watch, understand, to see how they did TVs and how the WWF did their operation. We're all now having dinner, and Vince goes to the bathroom, and I think Vince is sitting across from me and Pat's sitting over, and Pat leans over me and says, what an ass on that guy. I was thinking, oh God, and then he goes, heard y'all had a really good workout today. He said, I said, yeah, Pat, it was just a workout, So that was a little awkward there. So we get to the hotel. This is Canada when the lightning is going on. He says, hey, you want to come to our balcony and watch lightning tonight? I went, no, I don't want to watch lightning tonight. So he grabs me at the counter and says, I got the big son of a bitch in the waist up. So I really went around. I was like a real shoot, and I don't know chain wrestling. I really don't. But I learned it real quick. So I put my arm in and got around him and said, no, you don't have me either. I said, I'm going to my room. And I really was scared that night.
Yeah. Imagine. Okay, so if something like chain wrestling or shoot wrestling or something like that, the shorter you are, the more of an advantage that you have because your center of gravity is lower and you're underneath somebody's hips. So you can easily imagine if Patterson grabbed him around the waist and decided to drop him on his head, and then now he's unconscious and this guy's a creep. Imagine the type of fear that you have. Like, I hope, because everybody knew that he was also a pretty good fighter, like a good wrestler. Imagine if this guy decided, I'm just gonna knock you out. You got to be nervous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez Louise.
It's a lot, and this is not even close to being everything.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's over and there's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. You got any more clips?
No, that was the end of that one. And then obviously, there's tons of videos. I couldn't really get them all.
Okay. So the big scandal was what
I can link a couple videos on the bottom, like different ones.
Yeah, we'll do that. There's a Bill Donahue show, and a lot of them have. There's a great video out there. Geraldo, who was one of those reporters that he's like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this, and I have that guy went out, reached out, and got the name of all the underage victims that actually filed a lawsuit against the WWF, and then they countersued him, and they said, if you release these names or if you release anything on here, we're gonna sue you. So he didn't release any names, but he showed the paperwork of all the victims. That was a lot of the people that came in and came forward and said, my kid was abused. My kid came in doing some weird stuff and then said what happened to him. All these kind of things. And what's insane was that at the same time that all this scandal, Vince McMahon went on TV, and he was saying like, well, I've never heard of such a thing. At the same time, he's battling a rape scandal himself. Hires the first ever female referee and he assaults her.
There was something about him not being able to do, I don't know what, Vince McMahon, because they found out that he had paid over $12 million in hush money, basically.
Yeah, that guy. We should do a show on him. We should maybe that should be the next one. There's a lot.
Well, also there's remember the thing earlier we found the lawsuit or whatever that was going on currently.
Yep, there's a current lawsuit. So let's do him next week. That's a good one. So that's Pat Patterson. All the shit. This is not even there's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We can do you want to do a part 2 to this, or do you just want to have people just go check it out themselves?
We can. It'll just be just another person added to the group.
Okay. All right. We'll just do the Vince McMahon. You guys can go check it out. We'll leave the links in the description. You guys can watch that. But Pat Patterson, man, he had a lot of power, and he was fired. So after the appearance and all this kind of stuff and all the lawsuits, they ended up firing him from the WWF, and they brought him back a year later. And then he worked. Yep, he worked in the organization until he died. A lot of money, and they say he never changed. Look at that. He looks like he's wearing. You ever seen those decorative jack-o'-lanterns? And they have the face and it's moist. That's what he looks like.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a younger Lorne. But
younger, yeah.
Yeah, but look, he looks.
That's a reason.
He does. Yeah, he look like those California raisins.
Yeah, that's him.
That's
They
him.
modeled it after him.
Yeah, he looks like a California raisin after he opens the Ark of the Covenant in Indiana Jones.
You know the white raisins?
he
One of those.
he looks like one of those grapes that you find underneath the couch, and there's like
Ew,
fuzz growing out of it because it's moldy and it's like shriveled up.
that's the fuzz. Look at
Yeah,
his
that's
face.
him. That's him. He's human mold.
Disgusting.
What's nasty is the fact that you have wrestlers. So he was inducted to the Hall of Fame. They did this whole, thing on him, like, oh, what a great guy, and he was. And there was a guy who was a victim of him when he was really young. I think he was 12, but he was really young.
He was one of the ring.
Yep, one of the ring boys. One of the ring boys had a lawsuit, had several lawsuits, never won them. Just keep bringing them up and keep bringing them up. Had basically, so when he first filed his first lawsuit, they said he never worked for us. And he's like, well, that's crazy because I have paychecks, like that you guys paid me, and then they said Pat Patterson has never met you, and he has emails of like Pat Patterson saying you better keep your mouth shut, blah blah blah, all these kind of things, and they mocked him. They were like, "Oh yeah, look, you a grown man. How come you never went forward? How come you never went forward? How come you were afraid?" And it's like I was 13 years old, and then he ends up, becomes an adult and begins to file more lawsuits for what's done to him. Thrown out of court, they try to bribe him too. They're like, they're gonna give him money. Eventually, I think he eased off on it for a couple of years and then tried to come back. And then one day sees that Pat Patterson has died, and they do this whole thing on him, how much of a great man he was, and all the people he helped. Tributes, wrestlers whom he himself abused, and he mentioned a couple of wrestlers that were kind of like, you know what, he did the same thing to me, and then now sees these people saying how great he was, and then one day he goes and they find him dead. He committed suicide.
Yep.
So living with that torment, in your life, and imagine if somebody were to do something horrific to you, to the point where it dehumanizes you, uses you, and now you see that person and everybody is saying how great he was, and now you have to see his face on TV.
Celebrating him,
calling him so dark shit.
crazy.
Yeah, so we're going to end this episode here. So, damn, we went over the hour. So, Loot by Lottie, guys. Type in the promo code Lucky Loot, get 10% off your first purchase, and this promo's expiring. Silver Witch, check out her stuff. It's the Silver Witch. Pretty soon, I'm trying to get a deal with Tacticon Armament. So we'll see how that goes. So get medical bags and all that fun equipment. So, check out our merch. We have merch out there. Some shitty drawings. They look good as a mug. I think they're my favorite as a mug. So go ahead and check them out. And
in a little bit.
The what?
I'm gonna post one in a little bit.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got. Remember, guys, to always look both ways, especially if you want to come up to my room and watch the lightning.